I also want to tell Kenyans that the biggest existential threat to Kenya's declining economy and democracy and freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of political affiliation and growth is Uhuru Kenyatta, because he is on the driver's seat. And what he inherited from Kibaki was a rich democracy. Raila Odinga is his new political mercenary for hire. And the BBI itself, the BBI process, the BBI report as expected, the BBI is the special purpose vehicle, SPU, the special purpose vehicle heading to the route that has been suggested by Murathe, Atwoli, and Beth Mogo. And I'm sure Kenyans must be thinking Murathe is dreaming. No, I don't think Murathe is dreaming. I don't think Atwoli is speaking from nowhere. I don't think Beth Mogo, who is a close relative of Uhuru Kenyatta, is also speaking from nowhere. When we made our constitution and put provisions of a term limit, we did not put the limit of age, because we expected that even at 70, if Kenyans want you to be their leader, then you'll be elected. But we did not also say that the qualification for you to stay is your age. And therefore, the suggestions that Uhuru Kenyatta, because he's young, is going nowhere, is actually an insult and an abuse to the intelligence of Kenyans. Even though the person saying may be expressing their opinions and views, I think His Excellency, who we respect a lot, Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta, should actually respond to some of those issues, because were they coming from just anywhere, then maybe Kenyans would not give them attention. But they are coming from persons who have closely been associated with the head of state. And therefore, for me, it is a concern. Should we allow an executive who has served, a president who has served for 10 years, then be the maiden to actually change the constitution for benefit? You know, in Parliament, even if we wanted to change anything, any regulations or laws regarding the benefits and welfare of the members, the sitting Parliament who do that then are not allowed to be beneficiaries. And therefore, were we even to change the constitution and put in the provisions of a prime minister, my honest view is that Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta cannot then be allowed and should not agree to be drawn into that arena where then he would be a candidate. We cannot go the 1992 route. When we changed the Section 2A, we failed to also determine whether President Moi should run or not, and we left it open. If then Kenyans were to go that route of changing the constitution, we must also proscribe, we must also reject and put a provision that will bar a president who has served for this period from running for any office that has executive powers or otherwise of this country. Otherwise, Kenyans will have worked tirelessly in vain during the clamor for democracy and multi-party freedom. And definitely, if this country then goes the route of thinking the Murathe way, then this particular year will be harder than 2019, even as we wish Kenyans a better year, because the agenda for 2020 seemed to have been set by Atwoli, by Murathe, by Beth Mogo. Why would then the president not take off with an agenda for economic sparring of the country? Why can't we even put aside the BBI? So far, it has produced nothing. And you know, many of us actually agreed to support it when the report came. But it was returned back. And I mean, Kenyans are confused up to now why it was returned back. And for me, I think we should now actually just leave it completely and abandon it. Because if you think you have made a mistake, you don't have to dwell in the mistake. You don't have to live in the mistake. The constitutional framework, the document itself, is a result of serious deliberations by Kenyans. You remember, to reach where we reached in 2010, many people had died. Many people had lost their property. People had been detained in the clamor for a new constitutional dispensation. It was not about one person or two people. And therefore, from the word go, for two people to sit and say we greet each other, that is well enough. It's good. But release the process entirely to the masses, to all sectors of this country, and provide a clear, structured engagement mechanism. We don't have any. You cannot engage from a committee that has no legal background. If you want to sue that committee, you will be having problems because you are unable to say they have gone against provision A or B or whatever. You know, for us to review and audit a constitution, do we not need maybe to audit and hear Kenyans first before we now create a committee that is also not representative? That committee was also appointed by His Excellency and Raila Odinga. You cannot do that for Kenya. And especially if the document you are talking about is the Constitution of Kenya that is supposed to bind all of us. So there are fears, yes, because I am aware, even looking at the prosecutions that are taking place today, unless you want to be dishonest, and Kenyans have gone a long way on the road of speaking the truth and speaking their mind. The prosecutions that are coming up, many of them against politicians, are skewed. And I'm not saying those cases possibly should not be there, but they are skewed. They are those who ought to be in court, but they have been told, remove yourselves from this particular political affiliation and you'll be free of prosecution. We don't need to mention the names. Some of us have information of who should have been in court even first before others. But that has not been done. Of course, I know that calls are coming, meetings have been held to determine or decide what should happen to me or what should be done to me because of a few statements that I have made, maybe like the one I have made or like the one I made during the burial of Rubia. You know, it would be very bad if in a burial of Charles Rubia, you do not speak to the space of democracy, to the freedom of speech, to the freedom of political affiliation, political choices. Knowing that, of course, choices have consequences, no problem. But Kenyans must have their choice to follow their thoughts, their mind, their political affiliations without any fear of reprisal or intimidation. And that's what I meant. And I'm glad that His Excellency the President responded to me and said he will guarantee, he will not guarantee, he will actually ensure that his government is going to promote and guard the political and democratic space that we have achieved so far. But I hope that also goes with the deeds. I know since then, one or two people have already been assigned, and they have told me they have been assigned to fight me politically. And there have even been a candidate or candidates have been identified to fight me politically. And I made just a very innocent and meaningful statement. And really, if you cannot say that during the burial of Rubia, then I think then even going for that burial would be an action in vain. We even need to compensate the families on behalf of the departed. when you implement the report, you actually come up with a committee for implementation, so that then, it's not necessarily prosecution. I don't know, most TJRC reports are more reconciliatory, not prosecutorial. I think there would be elements of prosecutions, but I think largely most TJRC reports recommend reconciliatory methods, compensatory methods. They recommend reconciliation. They recommend forgiveness and acceptance that this happened and move on. And I think, therefore, I would support largely that kind of a route. And of course, restitution of property if it was taken. Or if you stole, you restitute to the state. Those who lost their own properties, restitution to them. Largely, those are the methods that TJRC's, a properly written report for TJRC is supposed to win-win, bring a win-win situation and a healing. Healing is a major aspect of a TJRC report. Forgiveness is a major report. Embracing each other and accepting that we have to move on. And of course, even saying sorry, and some form of compensation and restitution. Those are key. And in terms of the Dongo report, we know some people are still keeping public money and public properties.